Our project pretends to draw a correlation between a major threat to US nationals and Mexican violent crimes. We began this project for the sake of wondering whether such drug-related emergencies pose a sufficient threat to US nationals to warrant the designation of Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Just recently, the importance of our study was shown relevant. The Department of State announced on February 20th of the present year the designation of Tren de Aragua, Mara Salvatrucha, Cartel de Sinaloa, Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, Cartel de Noroeste, La Nueva Familia Michoacana, Cartel del Golfo, and Carteles Unidos as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. The operational definition that we will use for FTO designation will come from the US Department of State. We know as a fact that cartels are foreign organizations, and we know as well that they engage in terrorist activities. So this project is solely going to focus on determining whether they pose a threat to US national security. For this purpose, we're going to use three different datasets. The first one relates to Mexican crime data. It speaks of cartel activity and Mexican crime in general. The next one is related to drug confiscation data in the US. This is going to serve to also track cartel presence. And finally, to ensure that cartel presence is going to be a threat to US nationals, we're going to use overdose data. If we somehow are able to draw any connection between overdose and cartel presence, then we can say that cartel presence can be a threat to US nationals, and we're done.
These datasets contain detailed records of conflict events in Mexico, focusing on violence types, involved actors, and fatalities. Key columns include unique events, unique event IDs, years, locations, violence types, and death counts for initiators, responders, civilians, and unknown individuals. We also performed cleaning and by dropping redundant columns and rename variables for clarity, and standardizing violence types codes. Also use machine learning approach like NLP and supervised ML algorithms to classify events description into categories like death, shots.
Dataset 2 is about border drug confiscation from the U.S. Custom and Border Protection Agency. As you can see from their description, we can see the various data variables ranging from the location of where these drugs were confiscated to the amount and types of drugs confiscated at that specific month and fiscal year. We process our data set by combining them together and then standardizing the dates and locations, as well as getting rid of possible missing values, as well as filtering key variables for analysis, so keeping the ones that are helpful for our analysis and help answer our question. And then we can make graphs, bar graphs, where we can get some key insights such as drug patterns, where we can identify trends in types and quantity of drugs confiscated over time, as well as regional focus, policy support, and possible resource allocation needed. As you can see, we can see the different borders.
This dataset focuses on fentanyl overdose death in San Diego from 2019 to 2024. It includes demographics, locations, and circumstances of death. We apply data cleaning techniques taught in class to standardize the data, enabling us to analyze trends.
Now, to analyze all of the different datasets, we have a cross-border analysis, including fentanyl deaths, drugs seized, and cartel deaths. In the year 2020, there was a large spike in cartel deaths, which also shows the greatest results for total drugs seized and fentanyl deaths compared to the other years. In this graph, we can also see the largest spike in cartel fatalities in the year 2020 with a correlation in fentanyl overdoses, which shows another correlation as well. In this graph, we have three different correlations, including cartel fatalities and fentanyl overdoses. They have a strong relation. Fentanyl seizures and fentanyl overdoses have another strong relation. And lastly, cartel fatalities and fentanyl seizures have another relation. Lastly, in this graph, the most outstanding results include the spike in deaths in the year 2021, as well as opioid fentanyl deaths in 2018.
This correlation of 0.68 tells us when violence increases, so do overdose death. And this connection highlights how deeply intertwined drug trafficking and public health are, and reinforcing the recent decision to designate major Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. Addressing both issues together is crucial for making communities safer.
In regards to the ethics and privacy of this project, we focus on ensuring data privacy, fairness, and transparency. Key concerns were the underreporting of cartel-related violence, violating individuals' privacy, and data limitations in our analysis, which were all addressed. In conclusion, using data from cartel violence, drug seizures, and fentanyl overdose fatalities, we found strong correlations between cartel activity and raising fentanyl deaths in border cities. The recent FTO designation by the U.S. Department of State highlights the growing threat. The findings underscore the need for coordinated public health and law enforcement strategies to address this cross-border issue.